You are listening to the MVP Podcast.
All right, guys. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Talkin Tech. My name's Danny, and during these episodes, we're going to be discussing indie tech and how to apply it. Always, these episodes are recorded because we have our guests go through a demonstration and whatnot. And you can see our smiling faces. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce my guest here today. So I've had the opportunity to meet Greg. I actually met Greg over at Indie Tech. And that kind of sparked all of this. And I've been extremely impressed by his knowledge of the insurance industry. We'll actually get into his background here in a little bit, and I'm pumped, guys. Like he's been wonderful to connect with, speak with. So, Greg, what's up, man?
What's up, brother? How are you, man?
No, I know we were talking before this. I just came back from Dubai, so I'm a little jet lag still, but no, that it was a crazy experience there. And Greg, we have agents here listen to like a couple takeaways that you're going to give them. So go ahead. Can you just tell the listener why should they listen to this episode today?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So first off, thanks for having me. Yeah, this is a career highlight right now, man. My first podcast, and so it's been,
there you go.
It's awesome getting a chance to talk to you, and like you said, we connected at Indy, and I've been excited ever since we kind of had the idea. Let's get things going. So why should I listen today? And it's a great question. Ultimately, you're going to hear, and I've listened to some past episodes, and all were really good guests. Today, what I want agencies and brokers and agents to take away from it is there's ways to do the job better. I think more efficiently and smarter. And at the same time, there's information and insight, right, that you can get out of your own data, right? It's essentially what Ennabl does at its core is we help agencies basically drive actions just through their own data. So what I want folks to get out of it today is just an understanding of, it's not as hard as everyone seems to think, or I guess the industry has always made it seem, of just figuring out like, what do we do well? What do we not do well? How do I get all this information that's kind of floating around, right? Everyone says analytics and data and aggregation, right? All these big words that
buzzwords
don't really make sense. Yeah, buzzwords,
right?
Today, I want you to just understand that, like, what we do here, right? Our organization, we're success driven for our partners in our agencies that we work with. We're here to make their jobs easier. We're here to help them drive action, right? Drive strategy using what they already have. So that's one of the things I want to take away from today is just how do we help you be better? Straight up.
Love it. Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've been on the indie tech side for a little bit now, and I say words like that. Data, analytics.
We all do. Hey, we're guilty of it. We're all guilty of it.
But it's like, no, it's when you really dig into it, how do you use that data and how do you apply it in everyday life to get value out of it? And yeah, I guess let's go through Ennabl real quick. That's where you're currently at today. Yep. So tell us a little bit about Ennabl and what you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're about 3 years old, right? We've been started by Kabir Syed, who's pretty well known in the industry, right? Has some other past organizations that he's built and sold off. But ultimately, man, as I mentioned, we're just trying to help organizations be successful, right? Drive action, drive change, execute on strategies. I know it sounds really buzzy, but it's seriously true with their own data, right? And I think that's the secret sauce is we have a really good process in place to take data from really different pieces and different parts. It can be the AMS, it can be CRM. We're getting slowly into the documents, right? So we soon enough will be able to taking information from PDFs and Word docs and things of that nature. And what we're looking to do is basically say, hey, look, this is everything you've got in one nice, clean, and concise space, and provide you some insights of how you can actually do something with that data to be successful, right? Yeah. And that can be operationally efficiencies. Sure. Yep. That can be just based on revenue growth. I mean, for the agents today that are really kind of probably focusing in and hopefully listening to this, have made it this far. A lot of it is, hey, how do I grow? If I'm a personal line, broker for the most part, but I want to try and either grow a commercial book or dip my toe, like, how do I do that? Right? We're here to help in that instance. Or if you are a commercial broker and you're really just figuring out, how do I grow the business, right? We've got some lofty goals. The market's ripe for it. Great. Let us help you. How do we help you, identify those opportunities to grow the bottom line? It's simple stuff like that, funny enough, talking about my background, like, to me, not having ever been in insurance before I made it into InsurTech 7 or 8 years ago, man, I was like, yeah, it's simple, right? It's it's easy stuff. It's sales. But then I got into it and I'm like, actually, it's just, maybe it's the industry just isn't that easy. So being here at Ennabl, I mean, that's the goal, man, is how do we help people, basically drive change, right? Drive actionable, things of that nature and be successful.
Yeah, that's the name of the game. And my experience with working with agencies, again, we talk about buzzwords, like what to use your analytics and data, but no one ever tells you what to do with it. Like, if I'm a scratch agent, someone's telling me all this, like, I hop on a demo's sick of a product and like, oh, analytics, data. I'm like, okay, this is great, but like, are you going to help me? So it seems like you're more of a consultant. Like, you are literally helping them. You're taking that data and you're actually like, hey, I think you should focus more in here. Here's what you should do because of your background. Like, because you were over at Vertafore before, right?
Yeah, it's been about 4.5, 5 years of Vertafore. That was my first foray into InsurTech. I took a break. It's funny. I took a break for about 8 months, and I got into conversation.
You got the itch. You're like, I got to get back.
Yeah, it was funny. I took a break. I was like, I don't want to be in InsurTech anymore. Fast forward, joined up with Zywave after that. Was there for like a little over a year. Yeah. And then I landed with Kabir back at Ennabl, right? But yeah, I mean, I would say as an organization, we try to just essentially, and again, sounds super buzzy and sort of cliche, but like, we're just trying to put agencies in a place of success. And a consultant's probably a nice way to put it. We kind of like this problem solvers. Yeah. I feel, to your point, right? I feel like a lot of just people, they come to a demo or they come to something and they're like, oh, good, another shiny tool. Like, this is great. Got some buzzwords. You got some cool little flashy things on the screen. Right. And that's not ultimately successful or scalable for that matter. What we're trying to do a little bit differently here is really get ingrained with an organization, just understand what foundational or functional changes they're trying to make, or, really what strategies they're trying to execute, either it be in a short term or, hey, maybe this is a 2 or 3 year goal. And we're basically using our platform and our technology to help them execute on those strategies. Yeah,
no, that's great. And just so everyone, listeners are knowing, like, Ennabl's raised money, like, they're not going anywhere. Like, they're going to be a staple when it comes to building the indie tech world out, right? Because in like 2019, 2018 is when everything really started to build. Like the InsurTech just started to boom, bust out. I know that because that's when I started in it. I mean, you have like the Vertafores and Applieds, Zywave, right? But it's really started to boom, and companies like Ennabl are coming in and they're making a difference, right? Like they're really making a difference with how you're using that data. So hey, we keep saying data analytics. Let's get into it a little bit.
Sure.
Okay. So Greg, tell me something like, I'm listening to this. I keep hearing data analytics. Like, what does Ennabl provide me with that actual intake? Like, give us an example, like, so I can get a picture.
Yeah, it's a great question. So at its core function, right, we're trying to make people better, trying to make their jobs easier, trying to make them, help them sell more business. Right. So we'll extract that data from the AMS, and one of the key components, right, to what we do is we actually, and it's relatively simple term, we cleanse the data, right? Because I don't care how good you are as an organization, you can tell me, and this, how good your data is, and you could be pretty close. There's still going to be errors, man. We're all humans. We're keying in information. We're trying to move fast and making errors. And what should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. And you won't really notice it until one day you're doing something in a renewal and you pop up and the NAICS code's wrong. And you're like, holy crap. Like, I've got to reshuffle all this. So
Yeah.
the key instance is, right, is we're going to make sure all that data is clean. And ultimately people are asking, well, why does it make a difference? Well, if we're trying to identify for you, like, hey, this is where I'm really strong. Right? If I'm an agent and I can look at my book and say,
Yeah.
this is all legal services, right? Because we've identified those NAICS codes and those industry codes.
Yep.
And this is where I'm really strong. Well, probably makes sense for you just to spend more time in that niche, right? Like if it's successful
Right.
now, how do we kind of enhance that? How do we take advantage of it? So
Yep.
ultimately, we're going to go in, right? Data's cleansed, and what we're going to show you is, hey, this is where your strengths are, and then we're going to give you an avenue, right? The old producer sort of handbook is going to give you an avenue to go identify where the additional, in this case, law firms are, and I can
Yeah.
tell you, hey, does it need to be in this zip code, this county, this state? How big, how small? Like we're going to basically say, let's create a target list.
Right.
We're going to throw some information at you on each individual customer. Basically, it says, or prospect. That
Yep.
basically says, hey, does this qualify? Does this look good to you? Is this what you win at usually?
Yeah. So to kind of clear that up with the data, I'm not like I've seen horror story or I've heard of horror stories like agents will put in notes in like last name in their management system.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you've done that, that's not a knock towards anyone. I'm just saying I've seen it. Okay. So, but to Greg's point here, like guys, like it's important to have clean data. What if you want to integrate with another solution? I'll give you a quick example. I've heard an agent was using Levitate with AMS 360, wanted to integrate, but they put their data wrong in the management system when the integration happened over with Levitate. They're sending weird emails out to people with weird notes in the first name. God, I'm not making this up, guys. Like, so Greg, thank you for bringing that up. Like you guys don't realize, as we start to implement more tech, you got to clean your data up. So thank you for bringing that up there.
If I may too, about that point, and that's really the
Yeah.
interesting point is, we've got opportunities where since we're extracting it, the data doesn't get pushed back into the AMS. It's not something we're trying to get involved in too yet. I think down the road.
I know why. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, listen, man, it can be a little dangerous. But here's the thing,
Yeah.
right? Is if you're looking for that sole source of truth as a producer, or candidly, right, as an operations person, as a leader of the organization, having a place in the platform like Ennabl that allows you to have 1,000-foot up view all the way down to like a street level view, right, of it. We'll call it policy view or policy level information.
Right.
That's key, right? I know I can trust it. It's there. Now, if I want to go back and make some change management policy changes, like policy as in employees, hey, as we enter, we've got to be doing this. The Ennabl platform can be used as a nice sort of like, shining star. Little, this is where we want to go. This is the information we want to get added in. But you don't have to worry about that on our side, because if what we're doing already cleanses it, extracts it, and cleanses it, it's truth. It's accurate. And we do that data play for a bunch of different companies, from the big guys all the way down to some of the small ones. And again, that's where we're helping them succeed. Is all right, cool. Now that I know that what I'm looking at is accurate, I can actually make strategies built around this data to be better, right? To grow, to increase some operational efficiencies, or to direct the business places, right? I mean, some of it is just a matter of, and excuse me for being on my soapbox here, but having been in this 7 or 8 years, right, of InsurTech, dirty data, right? It just that gives people the heebie-jeebies at night, but more importantly, it makes people distrust tech, because whatever they're buying tech for a reason, to come up with a solution or to come up with some sort of answer. Well, if the data, garbage in, garbage out. So the problem is we're taking rid of that. Hey, don't worry about the garbage in part. We'll clean it up so that no matter what you see on the platform at the producer level, the CSR level, all the way up to management, CEO, CFO, it's clean, accurate, and it's the truth. And you can actually make decisions knowing that you're not being led astray, right? Or in your instance, right, in integration, we do integrate with some third-party companies, and we can push data out to other things. You know what we're pushing out, or in this case, if they're tagging into our data marts, it's accurate and it's true, and it makes it that one little layer of trust more, and it just makes tech work better. I mean, ultimately speaking, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, that's right. Like, we just want it to work. I was putting up these Gove lights earlier. If anyone's walking it, like, it wasn't working, I'm like banging my head. Like, my wife and I are trying to set it up together. And it was like, it didn't work. I'm like, oh my God. But like, that's the way we want tech. Like, we want it to just work.
Want to just work, right? Absolutely.
Yeah. and I know it's lights, so if you want to call it tech, whatever. But you also had mentioned, taking AMS data, right? Not just to clean it up, but also to tackle specific industries and then pre-qualify specific prospects. And that was interesting, right? Like you want your producers to not waste their time. Like you want them to be reaching out to qualified prospects that fit your certain categories. So that was really interesting. So that's what you do for agencies. You give them that insight and say like, hey, you should be reaching out to these individuals. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, it's something that we're coming up with a couple more tactics that go involved with that strategy, right? Of hey,
Yeah.
we're suggesting some places that you should probably spend some more time, and we're doing that via email push to if you've closed business and it's something that's relatively new, we're starting to kind of feed out to some more additional customers. Right, if you've closed this type of business, this size, this industry in the last 30 days, we're going to feed you a small list for now of these are other organizations that kind of fit that profile. And you should probably try and reach out to them, right? And we're fine tuning that and honing in with a couple of our customers. When it comes to the additional information that we're providing, right? Some of that third party information that we're injecting in. I mean, some of it though is then turns into like a human capital thing. Is I'm going to give you the company, right, that we've searched for, and we can show this later, right? I'm going to click in and see some information, right? Industry codes, size, location, stuff like that. And then it's up to producer just to understand, hey, like I know this is the size of business I'm really good at. Everyone knows their own book. We're not going to sit here and pretend to say that, Danny looks like Danny's really good at this, but candidly, Danny might just be like, yeah, it's one lucky account I have. There's 7 other ones though, right? That I know of. I know that fits me really well. I have really good success there. All right, cool. Like I'm going to put it in the producer's hands to just make the choice that's best for them. But they need the information to do that. And that's what we're presenting on the screen is, all right, cool. This is sort of the size and folks and people. And, we have the opportunity then, and we'll show this later, is jumping in and say, all right, great. I actually like this account, right? Who do I even talk to now? Like, how do I do that? And we've identified some key people that you should then be able to click in through, get their information, start to do your prospecting. And as you can build a list off of that, and it's just one of the cool little, I think, revenue growth in my head. That's one of the cool modules that we've got on the Ennabl platform, amongst many other things that we're finding a lot of success with our partners and some of the other brokers and agencies that we're working with.
Love it, man. No. All right, Greg, let's get into it. Let's go ahead. We've been talking a lot here. I know it's been great, but like, I know people want to see Ennabl. And I know we were talking before this, it's a robust system, right?
Yeah.
So just like kind of, what we were talking about here just now, kind of just tailor it in to the demo here. So if you want to go ahead, just record your screen or share your screen here. And let's have the viewers see what's going on here.
Yep. Can you see my screen there, sir?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. All right. So what we're looking at here is the main screen of the Ennabl platform. And you brought up a really good point, and we said it before. It's a relatively robust system, right? But what we've been able to do is fine tune the system and sort of the outputs of the system to whatever an organization is looking to accomplish. What strategies they're looking to execute on. So, we've got the home screen, some quick navs, and we can jump around. We've got other places, but as we're talking about, hey, where do we focus our time and effort if I'm a producer in this system? And this is what we were talking about when it comes to the opportunities module. So in this instance, I'm looking at this as though I'm the sales leader, but let's just think of it as Danny's a producer. And in this instance, you got a massive book. Congratulations, you've got like a $20 million book, man. Like, it's incredible. Now,
that's great. I love that.
Dubai makes a lot more sense, right? We're getting it. But if you think about it, I'm going to come in as a producer and I'm going to see where I have, the most success within the target industries. So in this instance, we're just going to click on legal services, right? Legal services is where I'm having success. I want to understand how I can accentuate that, success. How can I take that success and go a little bit further? So I'm going to click on legal industries here, and we're going to come up to an industry search. Already here on the industry tab, it's already lined out. We're only going to be searching for legal services. We're going to be searching United States. I'm a Florida guy, so I'm just going to put in some Florida stuff because I know the counties. Don't quiz me on, counties in New York besides New York City. I'm not doing that. And
oh man, I can't even do that in Ohio. Shoot.
There you go. Exactly. Right. So we're going to stick with industries and be legal services in Florida, and Orange County is where I reside. Now, a couple more things, right? I can break it down to a more specific level if we really wanted to. Specific city, zip code, right? Employee size. If I want to jump between a certain size, I only want to target 1,000 lives or more. If I'm on the benefit side, or really as a commercial rep, I'm only focusing my time on high value, premium accounts. Well, then you can obviously figure that out from here. But I'm going to go from this one. And if I really want to go a little more specific, you could jump into the employee revenue band, or the company revenue band. But from here, we're going to hit search. And what this is going to come back with is a list, in this instance, of 29 legal services, in this case, mostly law firms, right? In that county, in this size. And if I wanted to, I now can click on the card and I'm going to see what kind of information I need in order to be successful. Hey, we have their the NICS codes that they deal with, size, addresses. Here's a really interesting thing too, is if they are big enough to be having to file a 5500 form, right? If you're on the benefit side, or you're really just trying to get a little more insight, we've gotten some really smart commercial producers that are using 5500 forms to garner some information, like previous brokers, perhaps where they are. There's really other information you can get that typically you're not going to really care about as a commercial producer, but the insight you can get from where they're filing is really interesting. So if that exists, right, in this instance, they're not probably going to have one because it's not big enough, but it would show up here as a 5500 form. But now I'm saying, all right, cool. So I've identified where I'm good at, right, where I'm successful and how I want to grow the business. Now I've identified those prospects in that area, right? Either it be whatever the target could be, employee size, location, etc.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying, cool, Bogan, Munns and Munns, they're actually a firm down the street from me. Great. Who do I talk to? Bogan, Munns and Munns. How do I get in there? Simple.
Right.
We've got our people search here on the right side, right? We're going to present names of folks that obviously are probably worth your time to go after. I'm going to click on the magnifying glass. I can't even speak today. And what we're going to come up with is Mr. Rulon Munns, managing shareholder. I'm going to all the information I could get, I need from that person, right, to contact them. Emails, phone numbers, past experiences. I'm a LinkedIn person. I click on the LinkedIn icon. I'm going to go right to their LinkedIn page.
Love it.
Connect, right? Create that workflow of, I'm going to hit you up on LinkedIn. I'm going to send you a note. I'm going to give you a phone call. I'm going to stop by the office. Ultimately, you're going to, producers are going to do the producer thing. They know what works for them, what processes. The issue is they always seem to be able to, is how can I find more qualified leads? And this is one of those ways.
Love it. So guys, just kind of recap for those who are watching, basically Greg here was putting in some fields to qualify specific prospects that he wanted to look up here. And basically it pulled in all the information that you need to just start prospecting. I've heard agencies spend hours a day researching, right, to find this information. And the fact that he was able to just pull up just for a couple fields, wow, the amount of time that can save there. And like, Greg, I'm just curious, like, does that data, if I'm an agency, I use like a CRM or something, does that push into a CRM, or does it populate into an AMS, or do I like download it as a CSV file? Like what, how do I extract that?
Yeah, great question. So we built out some reports. So in this instance, right, if I wanted to, we can always go back here and I'm gonna do it. But we'll help build out a prospect list, essentially, that loads it into the Ennabl platform. If you do have a CRM, say you've got a Salesforce specifically, we can push lists and this information back into a Salesforce instance.
That's awesome.
As well, right? It takes a little bit of work on the backside to just connect it all, but call it what it is. If you're already using Salesforce, you're probably tech savvy enough to know how, to be able to walk through that with us. So it doesn't take a lot. Just, we'll make the connections happen and we'll be happy to push the information back. As we mentioned before, we're not really pushing information back to the AMS just yet. For E&O reasons and some other things. Fair. But it's certainly on the roadmap, and we're trying to figure out if there are ways for us to kind of do some information to push back and not others. So stay tuned. I'm sure that's an announcement will be when we're ready to make it. It'll be blasted out on our social medias of what we're trying to do and who we're trying to do it with on there. And if I may, the two things I want to show on top of that. So we've talked about, hey, net new. I'm trying to figure out, how do I, identify additional opportunities, additional prospects for me to call into based on industry, based on location, what have you. Awesome.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, and I mean, this isn't just insurance. This is, an adage all this time is it's easier to sell to an existing client than it is to, go find a new client and introduce yourself and all that kind of stuff.
Amen to
So,
that. Yep.
right. So the two things I want to show real quick, right? Because we're extracting the information from the AMS, it's really sometimes difficult to understand what monoline policies you have in the AMS, right? There's a report
Right.
you've got to run, you got to pull different places, you got to format it. We've done that all for you within one click, right? So right here, we've got a monoline report. And for those that are not able to check this out on YouTube, when this is posted and you're listening to me on the podcast network, feel free to reach out to us at sales@ennabl.com. We'll be happy to walk you through it or check out the YouTube show. But what we've got in front of you essentially is just a complete list of every single monoline policy in the agency. And if you're a producer, this is just based on your book. If you're a sales manager, this is just based on, it can be based on the entire agency.
Right.
All you got to do is now I've identified, cool. I can now go in. If I'm looking at Gorzansky, I can go in and say, well, we only write one policy for them. Why is that? And it's a big policy, right? So why is that? There's got to be there's other opportunities there that perhaps the rep hasn't gotten a chance to go after or things of that nature. But sometimes half the battle is just identifying where the opportunity is, and then you put it into the rep's hands to go have that conversation, right? Be a risk consultant more than just an insurance agent, right? Let's try and change that as well, and then help organizations just grow and be better. So something like the monoline report, in my head, right, not coming from the insurance space, insanely simple, but certainly super powerful as we've talked to other agencies that have gotten to take advantage of this. And again, everything here, real quick, full stop, everything is exportable, right? We can export the list into an Excel if you're more comfortable in Excel, filter it out that way. Perfect. Boom, boom, boom. If you're a sales leader listening to this and you got to figure out how to make your reps better, you want to give your reps perhaps a targeted list, you can come in here, operationalize this, make it yourself, make it someone else, look it up, export the list, hand it out to the proper rep with their things, and off they go, right? We're just trying to make this easier and a lot more efficient for folks, rather than having to pull different pieces of information from different places and try and win more business.
Greg, that's amazing. A really smart person told me this one time, who's in insurance. Work from your current book and then work out, right? You are a sales organization. That's what you should be focusing on. Sales. You should be focusing on every single opportunity that you can get to keep generating sales. I get retention. It's important, right? I get all that, but you need to keep compiling on. And what Greg just showed you here is how to easily identify some leftover meat on the table.
Yeah.
Just go after.
Yeah, and I know we're going to be bumping up on a little bit of time here, but the last piece, because it actually ties in really well with what you just said, is always be selling, always trying to find more business, right?
Always.
And going back, right, it is easier to sell to an existing client than it is a new client. Well, not only do we have monoline, but now because I've got all that information from the AMS, I actually can do a really simple cross-sell report to continue to build that list of people we should be talking to. So in this instance, I mean, if we're thinking about it of, hey, I'm a personal lines producer and I'm trying to figure out how to grow my commercial book, or I'm a personal lines producer who's got a lot of auto but doesn't have a lot of home, or vice versa, I can go in and say, hey, show me all the policies we have that's auto, right, but have not bought homeowners with me. Generate the report, bang, boom, bang.
Dude, that's huge.
Here we go. I've got a report in front of you.
And immediately,
exportable. And it's going to show all those key things: what client it is, who the producer is, what they have, what they don't have, right? The renewal information, contact information, etc. It's simple stuff like that. I've done this a lot too. And the thing that I find the most valuable, because I've always been in a commercial mindset, it just to me made more sense, was I had folks that were like, well, what if I wanted to do like a workers' comp, but don't have EPLI? So within, I don't know, 5-6 seconds, my typing's not the greatest, I have now identified a target list of all workers' comp folks, or all workers' comp policies, but they don't have EPLI.
Dude, and then you just target them. And then your current process today, you put them in there, you reach out, and no, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, you're trying to build a marketing plan or a sales plan. I mean, you can do the same thing for cyber is the hot topic, right? Everybody's talking about cyber.
Oh, well,
great. I don't want to just mass blast 3,000 accounts. Maybe 15 to 20% of them have cyber already. Can we be a bit more targeted, a little more strategic? Great. Let's go in and figure out, folks, if they've got officer, D&O and things like that nature, but they don't have cyber, that seems like a really easy to run sales strategy, and half the battle is just understanding who to target. We've done that for you within a matter of clicks.
Dude, Greg, that's awesome, man. I loved it. Thank you for sharing here. And guys, we're gonna wrap this up here. And we always like to end this with Greg giving us, he's in the indie tech realm, just a couple of, other. Yeah.
You're gonna hold me to 2. All right, you're gonna hold me 2. Maybe we'll get 3 in there.
What are some other vendors out there that you see? Hey, you do demos, you consult agencies, and I'm sure you've been like, hey, Joe, check this company out. What have you seen out there that's really made a difference?
It's a great question, and I just want to make sure I've got the names right, because there's 2 companies that I at least ran across, right? One of them is, so the one thing that seems to be popping up a ton, and before the last year or 2, I feel like maybe the last couple of years, it really wasn't a massive or a really successful tool. And the last like 2 years, I've seen Loss Run Pro.
Yeah,
those guys are awesome, right? So Loss Run Pro, and then Scott Knowles, who folks might know from the old Logic days, just started up Loss Scan. Same idea, right? Both folks are absolutely crushing it in side of the business, and it's just something that, after having seen both of their technologies and sort of what their vision is and how they're making it easy on the broker to do renewals and loss runs and things of that nature, I think those 2 are really 2 folks. If you're having trouble, if it's bogging you down, right, spending hours upon hours trying to build out some of these reports for your renewals and for your insureds, Loss Scan and Loss Run Pro are 2 that keep jumping out to me. I keep seeing, and I know they're both great companies, right? So that's half it too. Is you think you might have mentioned it earlier? It's just, a lot of firms, I think, in the past 10 years have kind of been burned on tech in the insurance space.
Right.
And I'll leave to whose fault that is to other opinions that are certainly smarter.
Yeah, we shouldn't talk about that right now.
No, but again, these are 2 folks that I think, 2 different companies that are really doing a good job and doing right by the customer, doing right by the insured. They want to see the industry excel and move forward. And what they're bringing to the table certainly accomplishes that. And then, I'm going to keep it at 2 because I think there's so many. I think it's the cool part, right?
We can talk just so we all, if you're a vendor listening to this, everyone's good. It's just what top of mind, what you've seen. And no, Greg, I appreciate that. I don't think those 2 companies have been brought up on this on any of these episodes before. So listeners, go ahead, check them out. But guys, hey, Greg, I just wanted to thank you for coming on here. I hope that every listener I know got a lot of actual takeaways out of this. And guys, check out the recording, see it in action, see what you can do with those, reports that you can build, and envision what you can do with that. Imagine how you can take that and apply that to your business today. But Greg, thanks for hopping on, man. I've been excited for this for a while. I know we've been pushing it back out a little bit, but thanks for hopping on here, Greg. I love you, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. This was great. This is awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, at the end of the day, we discuss indie tech and how it'll help your agency. So thanks for listening, and catch you on the next episode.